Autism Month, and it kicks off with the UN-sanctioned World Autism Awareness Day. Today, as part of the awareness campaign, a breakfast event has been organized in Pretoria. Now, let's get more on the story, and we're joined now by Gauteng Education MEC Panyaza Lesufi from our Pretoria studios. MEC, thank you very much indeed for your time. According to the advocacy group Autism Speaks, I was reading a bit yesterday, it describes autism or autism spectrum disorder, referring to a broad range of conditions characterized by challenges with social skills, repetitive behavior, speech, and non-verbal communication. Now, in terms of our education system here in South Africa, have you found that there is a sound understanding of what needs, or actually the needs of the individuals with autism?
Thank you so much, and thanks for the opportunity for hosting us. Indeed, we have done that. I think there are three areas where we feel that we need to work very hard. One is what we call recruitment, the ability to recruit the best educators to serve that particular sector. Quality educators, educators that understand the needs of our children, and educators that will be responsive to the challenges of the sector. You don't need somebody who's there for the sake of earning a salary or who's there purely to fulfill their career, but somebody who understands the importance of that particular sector. The second aspect is opening of schools, that we need proper schools that can cater for our children, quality schools and schools that have all facilities and professionals. We've just opened a new school just outside Sandton called Noktula. It's worth 250 million specifically for this particular sector and other learners with disability, so that we can provide the relevant guidance that we need for them. And the third aspect, which is very, very important as well, the use of technology to minimize pain, to minimize frustration, and also to ensure that we are part of the international community. So those are three areas within the education sector, especially in Gauteng, that we're investing our resources and our energy and time so that we can respond accordingly to learners that go through the difficulties of autism.
Yeah, investment, no doubt, in resources and skills is very, very important. You have no doubt interacted with families living with autism. Give us their reality, MEC, and their needs, which, from what I've read, extends far beyond just awareness.
No, definitely. It's early identification or early diagnostic, because that's very important. If you can't diagnose early, especially matters related to speech, attitude, conduct, because if you can't pick those at an early stage, it becomes very, very difficult to pick it up later on. I mean, I can give you an example. This morning we had a function where a learner with autism was supposed to speak to the function, but immediately when the learner was supposed to speak, the learner requested that they be recused, which are some of the symptoms where learners have this withdrawal symptoms and withdrawal attitude, and they just want to be on their own, and they want their space, they want their time. So we need to deal with those kind of things. That is why we are proud in Gauteng. I mean, in hardly 3 years ago, in 2015, we had 750 learners within our schools that suffers from autism. But today, as I'm speaking to you now, we've got 1,100 learners. So to move from 750 to 1,100 learners, it's a huge investment. We still need to do more to attract them. The waiting list was almost 5 years just for learners to come into the system. Now we've reduced that waiting list to less than 6 months. As I'm speaking to you now, in 2015, with only 2 schools that were giving attention to learners with autism. We now have, from 2 schools, we now have almost 17 new schools that are in that particular sector. So our investment has been massive, huge, and that's the reason why today, as an International Day for Autism, we are pleading for parents and institutions and the community to say, don't feel you're alone. We are here to support you, and we're also here to provide guidance and the necessary support that is needed.
Yeah, it's extremely important to increase understanding as well as acceptance, and I guess foster nationwide support, not only here in Gauteng, but nationally.
It's true.
Just tell us about more about the critical social programs that are in place to ensure that those who are living with autism live happier and, I guess, safer lives.
I just want to thank universities, especially University of Johannesburg, University of Pretoria, as well as UWC. They've they've come on board. They've given us their psychiatrists. They've also given us their neurosurgeries or people that are working within that particular sector. And they've given us people that can assist us to attend to some of those issues. So we want to thank them. We also want to thank the Department of Social Development and the Department of Health for providing us the facilities that we need, and also assigning personnel not only to identify but also to provide the relevant support that we need. The SGBs and parental bodies or parental organizations that have taken upon themselves to ensure that they organize and mobilize within this particular sector. So we are quite humbled by that particular support, because it is that support that positions the department, and as you said, the country as a whole, to respond accordingly, faster, but most importantly, to provide all the relevant remedial needs that these children need.
Let's talk about access, MEC, from urban to rural areas. Do you think children diagnosed with autism have adequate access to appropriate interventions and services, or are there still gaps in the system that needs to be addressed urgently?
I'll be the first one to accept and to concede that access is minimum. As I said, in Gauteng, in 2015, we had 2 schools. Now we've got 17 schools or so. So you can't be proud of that. And mostly, some of these schools are very, very expensive. Parents can't afford them. You go into townships, you go to rural areas. We don't have those kind of schools. And majority of those schools, the waiting list is huge. So I'll be the first one to acknowledge and concede that access is still a challenge. We need to invest more in time and ensure that we've got more facilities that can assist learners with autism.
Yeah, what about teachers? Are you finding that there's appetite from teachers in order to get into this field? Are there any programs from the Department of Education in order to encourage or push teachers more to this field?
Well, I'm thrilled that young educators are entering this space at a very, very interesting pace. You are seeing younger teachers that feel that the sector can accommodate them. They can work in that particular sector. The department has trained almost 1,000 extra personnel, and thanks to EDTP CETA, it's an organization that is mobilizing within that sector as well. So we do have that capacity, but the issue is, are we attracting quality, or are you attracting people that are looking for jobs, or are you attracting people that are impatient, that don't understand the sensitivity and the needs of this particular sector? But generally, I think we are starting to recruit quality educators, the principals and those people that are leading some of these particular institutions, both in the private and public sector. You can see that we are going somewhere as a country.
What about financial capacity, MEC? In order to get us to a state of complete satisfaction, there needs to be a lot of investment, not only in infrastructure, but also in people. Is enough being invested?
Will not say we have enough resources. Never will we do, but we have made a huge stride in ensuring that we pull the budget towards this sector and we provide the relevant resources that are needed within this sector, especially within the 3 areas, that is curriculum, infrastructure and material. Because if you don't have LTSM textbooks that these learners need to utilize, we will not provide education to them. If you don't recruit good teachers, you don't have good buildings, we'll never recruit. So resources is the language that we need to understand and appreciate. And that's why we are calling on the private sector and other institutions that can invest in this particular sector to do so without any further delay.
So there was this breakfast meeting or event this morning with regards to creating more awareness about autism. Tell us about the educational activities with regards to Autism Awareness Month taking place around the province. Tell us a bit more about that.
Well, with exhibitors that have new products that are entering the market, with learners that we're offering rendering some songs and poetry, with parents that were registering their frustration and their happiness. We also have our NGOs and partners that are coming into this particular sector. So the day also saw people, the panel of 4 people that were giving us ideas of both international trend, the challenges that we have in the country and in our province, and areas in which we need to take note of so that this particular sector can be appropriately protected and defended.
I know you are big on technology, Amy, so you mentioned it a little earlier on in our interview. Just give us maybe a sneak preview of what can we expect. How is technology helping or about to help the plight of people who are living with autism?
Technology is the way. It's the future, and it's something that will minimize the pain and the frustration of parents, both inside the classroom, but most importantly, in attending specifically to each learner, so that we can identify the shortcomings, the dynamics, and also the areas where we can assist those particular learners. Our view is very simple. If we can invest in technology, our children will be subjected to be switchboard operators, whereas we need their skills to contribute to the broader economy and also to participate effectively in establishing their own companies and their own institutions. So technology and the use of devices is an area where we need to move in there and move with speed and invest a lot, because it's going to minimize majority of the challenges that we're currently facing.
Resources. I would add to that education. Education is key. It's all about improving the lives of people living with autism, as well as their families and their caretakers. Gauteng Education, MEC Panyaza, Lesufi, thank you very much indeed for your time and insight.
Thanks.